You know, when I started all this, I think I forgot to properly introduce myself. My name is Matt Greist, and I'm somewhat of an artist. But it's important to note that I'm not an accomplished one. I've done a lot, but I've only accomplished a little. And when I say that, I don't mean to beat myself up, but it's just a fact. When I started with this vlog and everything I've been doing this year, my intention going forward was to create more, to do more, and to build upon a skill set that I already have, but to grow it more and advance in my profession. When I started this, I was making things to meet deadlines and to push myself further, but I was creating, but I wasn't 100% happy with it. I wasn't happy with the fact that there was no structure behind them, there was no art behind them. There were techniques and there were things that I was happy with, but I think with this whole process it's going to be more and more about pushing myself to develop creative content that people enjoy watching and people want to see. My biggest goal in life is to inspire others to do what they want to do, whether that's being an artist or an engineer or a YouTuber, whatever it is that people want to do with their lives. My goal is just to help inspire them and help them on their way. From the Top, which is the title of this series, is here for me to reach people. It isn't something that I see as a get-rich-quick scheme, and it really has no other reason to exist except for me to reach people in a way that I haven't tried before. And I think that's what's special, especially now about YouTube and all these other platforms that allow artists like myself to reach other people and to say, this is what I do, follow me. And that doesn't mean that there isn't going to be other content on here. It just means that for now I want it to be more than it already is. I plan on branching out in the future and doing more things like collaborations, tutorials, everything like that, but I don't want it to be a run-of-the-mill vlog. I'm a different kind of artist. My tools exist all on the computer, which isn't to say that's not common nowadays, but I've spent years learning and developing my skill set on the computer and working with the tools of my trade and learning new applications and learning new softwares. For those of you who don't know, I am a 3D artist. Sometimes called a visual effects artist, sometimes called a CGI artist. There's a dozen different names for what I do. For me, getting to a point now in my life where I can actually comfortably call myself an artist is something I wasn't comfortable with for the longest time. What's hard about my field and what I focus on and what I do is that generally when you talk to people, they don't understand what it is you do. And I hope to erase this stigma around it that it's created by the push of a button and not thousands of artists who work on these projects daily. When I figured out that film was going to be something that I put most of my effort into later in life, it was after I'd already been doing animation for about 4 years. When I was younger, inspired by all the movies I used to watch, I knew I wanted to make, my biggest thing is I wanted to make movie monsters. I wanted to make dinosaurs, I wanted to make everything that was on the screen. But I didn't know how to go about that. And fast forward a good couple of years, when I started high school, they had an animation program. And I took that for all 4 years straight, competed in competitions across the country. I figured out it was definitely my thing. It was what I loved to do. After finishing high school, the goal of being a visual effects artist and an animator seemed kind of far away and like almost impossible. But the idea of being a filmmaker and learning a new trade and learning something that coincides with what I do was something that I was very interested in. And that's when I started on my path to become a filmmaker. And I've never fully understood that craft, and I don't think I'll ever fully 100% understand it. But I'm working as hard as I can to understand it. And when I started, I was about 18 or 19 years old, I think. And I wanted to put some of my older stuff in this vlog, and I should have a little bit of older stuff, but most of it's long gone. When we were making movies, it It was kind of before the popularity of cameras that use SD cards and things like that. And we didn't have a lot of money. We had mini DV cameras that we would film on, and we had little compact disc cameras that we would record on as well. And we didn't save it. A lot of it was just for fun. Most of it we never posted on the internet, so it's not saved elsewhere. But it was always this idea that we were making movies that was exciting to us. And I've found that as I've grown as an artist and as I've changed, right now I felt kind of lost. I didn't have an understanding for what I do. I didn't understand this camera very well. So I set out to make this vlog. And it exists, like I said, to reach people, but also to teach myself. The best way to learn anything is to do it. You're not going to learn it from reading a book. You can't learn how to make amazing cinematic shots from a book. You can only practice and practice and practice until you get it right. And that's my aim here. I haven't been great about making sure this vlog tells a story. And now that I'm looking at what I've created so far and looking at where I want to go in the future, I realize that it needs to tell my story as well, because I feel like my story is worth telling. Starting from the ground up as a bunch of teenagers in high school to building a production company, starting a business, and not just saying starting a business, but starting a full-bore business and really pushing forward in life. And I think that's important to tell that story because not a lot of people go that distance, at least that I've seen. And I think it'd be amazing at some point to bring other people who are on that same journey onto this vlog to talk and discuss and really learn from each other and teach others that, we're following our passion, but we're also making sure that later in life our passion is a sustainable company, a sustainable business. That's one of the biggest downfalls of people. And you'll hear people like Gary Vaynerchuk say it all the time, not to heavily rely on things like social media, YouTube, because in the end these platforms always kind of like ebb and flow. They disappear, they come back, they get replaced. And our goal is to build a business outside of this to where, if it ever does happen that YouTube disappears, that's not going to happen. But if it does ever happen, we're safe for the future. We're good. We can keep going. As I move forward with this vlog, I hope to include things like tutorials, Q&As, things like that, things to add to an ever-growing library of just content to help people who want to take the same journey as me, but they don't know where to start. This video right here wasn't meant to be epic. It wasn't meant to be cinematic. It was really a way for me to talk and say, this is where I'm going. I don't have any plans to stop. I don't have any plans to back off just because I had a couple of vlogs that I didn't agree with or I didn't like. It was meant to be a proper introduction. And I hope now that you understand a little bit more about me. And maybe at some point I'll do an in-depth look into my life and where I started, how I grew up, and things like that. But right now it seems a little bit unnecessary. But as I've grown and as I've dedicated my time to learning all this and learning these nuances and everything about this business that I work in, I've learned that there's nothing wrong with following your dreams, or there's nothing wrong with focusing on your passion. The biggest issue being that you have to understand it's a lot of work. I've had many sleepless nights. I've had many shoots that went from 5 o'clock in the afternoon to 8 o'clock the next morning. It's not an easy business. It's not an easy thing to do, but I love every second of it. So when it comes to focusing on my passion and focusing on what I've built, it's what I love doing. So when you say put in the work, it doesn't feel like work. When you say that you have to grind long hours, it doesn't feel like long hours. And this vlog, this is an example of my grind. And it's not to show off, it's not to show that it's glamorous or easy, because it's not. And I hope that I can convey to other people that this isn't a glamorous or easy thing. It's full of stress, financial problems, things like that. The list goes on. But I'll do my best to convey that through here and to show people that it's a daunting task. It is not an easy thing, but it's worth doing. It's worth learning something that you love and pushing yourself to do things that are outside your comfort zone. That's what I'm doing here. And with that said, I'm looking forward to building new content and creating more and turning this channel into something proper, something that has tutorials, interviews, anything. I think the possibilities are endless, and I'm excited for that. And I hope that you guys decide to follow and grow with me and watch and learn, and hopefully you enjoy the content along the way. So if you want to follow me on this journey, hit that subscribe button, and I hope I'll see you all in the next one.